Okay, perfect. Welcome to the call. Hold on, let me go ahead and prove a couple more people, even though I just set it to record. But welcome to tonight's royalty movement call. And behind the scenes, I've been doing a whole lot of things to kind of feed my mind and feed, my wealth from a standpoint of knowledge as well as literally. So I was like, this is something that I feel like everybody needs to dive into. So I said, you know what? Let's turn it into a training. I got somebody else in the waiting room. This is gonna kind of get to me. But okay. So what is this call about? Now, before I get into what the call is about, it won't take too long. We'll be short and sweet. But if you're in the position to do so, please pull your pen and pad out and pay attention to the screen so you can know how to access everything that we'll be covering on this call, because it's important for you to understand how to access it so you don't have to ask unnecessary questions. Hopefully, during this time, as it relates to 2020 as a whole, you have not allowed it to set you back. I know it might have paused you from an angle of the uncertainties that are going on, but if you just kind of pay attention to everything that's going on, it's a lot of opportunity with being forced to quote unquote stay home for some time. And a lot of people are loosening up, lightening up, and just kind of taking it easy and feeling like things are coming to a close as it relates to how 2020 has been all year. However, what you got to understand is sometimes when you say you want something, the situation or opportunities will present themselves. It just may not show up in the way that you thought it would. So a lot of people were saying 2020 is my year. 2020 is going to be the year I do XYZ. Well, little did they know that they would be given more time than normal to do what it is that they wanted to do. They just didn't recognize it as an opportunity. But for those who have recognized this as an opportunity to build wealth, to solidify some things, to create outsources or different streams of income, for those who understood that, they're actually in a better position. Now, this is not to downplay anybody who was hit or affected by this time, because we know that a lot of people was affected negatively during this time. So it's not to downplay that at all. But most of the time when it's a crisis involved, there's also some opportunity that's available for those who are aware. Now, by being a part of royalty and by being a part of my econ, we want you to be on the forefront or in the lead in terms of recognizing opportunity. You see, my econ was built on principles that let us know that we have the ability to obtain wealth, but at the same time, understanding that wealth is possible due to the fact that we live in a capitalistic society. And a part of being in a capitalistic society is understanding when opportunities present themselves, understanding when there's a problem that you can be in position to serve as a solution. So when you're in my econ, understand that you are problem solvers. Plenty of people who are dealing with ailments, financial ailments, that my econ has the solution for, whether that's debt elimination, whether that's building credit, whether that's needing another stream of income, or whether that's just financial literacy as a whole, because it wasn't taught in schools. In many cases, it wasn't taught in homes. And since it wasn't taught in two of the main places that we spent a great deal of our upbringing in, then where else are they going to learn it from? And typically that can come from you, people that they're connected to, their network, someone they may connect with on social media. So now it's a lot of barriers that have been removed that allows people to get access to information as such. And if you know that, now you can solve the problem of many. And by solving problems for others, you naturally increase your net worth. You naturally position yourself to create more streams of income. You naturally position yourself to come out better than you did going into 2020. So that's what I want to talk about. Now, like I stated, you naturally position yourself to increase your net worth. So that's what this call is all about. I was really a little hesitant on calling it a net worth challenge, because I'm not trying to carry anybody along on the journey of increasing our family's net worth. But I understand that this is important, and if those who follow suit on what it is I'm about to show today, and it's real simple, real basic, cut and dry, but for those who follow suit, those are the ones who will actually benefit greatly. And if you let me know that you're following the steps, then as we make progression on a net worth level, then you can be making progression with us along this journey. But it's not about dragging anyone along. This is for you to challenge yourself. That's why I put my net worth challenge, spelled just like my econ is spelled, because people got to understand that my econ is less about what we're doing for you, but everything about you, what you are doing for you, because it's your economy that you have to take control of. A lot of times people want to leave their economy in the hands of someone else, in the hands of the government, in the hands of their jobs. And if you give a person the ability to feed you, you also give them the ability to starve you. So by understanding that is really letting yourself know that, look, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. I have to take matters into my own hands because I cannot depend on anyone else to increase my net worth. So this challenge is more of a challenge for yourself, but I just want to give you something to start on, because how can you know where you're going if you don't currently know where you're at? And it all ties into everything that my econ teaches, the personal cash flow plan. So this is not to shy away from that, but this was kind of an aha moment for me once I really broke it down. And it was liberating because it just was a motivation that came from understanding, okay, this is where I am net worth wise. This is where I want to be. So every opportunity that presents itself, I can be increasing my net worth on an ongoing basis. You can increase your net worth every time you get paid, literally. And we'll get into that going forward throughout some of this presentation. But for those of you who do the first step, you can be increasing your net worth every time you get paid. So that's whether you get paid monthly, whether you get paid bi-weekly, which is every 2 weeks, whether you get paid weekly, or whether you get some daily pay. You can be doing some things to increase your net worth. So temporarily, what I'm gonna do is cut off my camera just so I'm not distracted in any way. But at the same time, move some things around. Now, let's talk about it. What is net worth? What is net worth? Well, net worth, simply put, just we don't want to overcomplicate things, because I promise you, genius resides in simplicity. Net worth, simply put, is your assets minus your liabilities. So whatever you have in assets, if you subtract your liabilities, that will give you your net worth. So that's the simple equation. Now, what are assets? Assets are anything of value, or anything that's making you money, or anything that holds a level of equity. That's an asset. So your job can be an asset. You know, a lot of people don't consider it that, but your effort to go to work and make money is an asset to you building your net worth. So that counts for something. Your business can be an asset. Your home, if it has some equity in it, it's an asset, but the mortgage portion of it is a liability. So it can play on both sides temporarily until things tend to switch. Your investments, your saving account, all of these things are assets because it has a level of value. And I'm gonna throw a bonus asset in towards the end, but that's an asset. A liability is something that's draining money out of you, or a debt that has been unfulfilled, meaning that you haven't paid the debt yet. So when you line up your assets in comparison to your liabilities, the formula will give you your net worth. Now, this is what you got to understand. When you do that equation, it is very well possible and highly likely in this day and age for your net worth to be a negative number. And that's okay. So don't feel bad when you're going through your numbers and you realize, wow, I have a negative net worth. At least you know where you are. And that negative can flip to a positive if you just stick to the plan and understand that every time you get paid, regardless of how often and how much, it's an opportunity to move your net worth in a positive direction. Now, I'm gonna throw you for a loop on this one. And I want you to, this is rhetorical because this is recorded, so I just want to make sure that there's no interruption. I will have you to chime in. But since I've been talking, and I've probably been talking for the past 5 or 10 minutes, it has been a newborn baby that has been born that probably has more net worth than you have right now. A newborn baby. And I'm not talking about they have net worth because they were born into a rich family, or a family that already has some wealth, a family that has already broke the generational curse of poverty. I'm talking about a baby with $0 in net worth has been born since I've been talking, and that baby that has $0 in net worth has more net worth than many people in our country today. What do I mean? Like I stated before, it's possible once you go through your numbers for your net worth to be a negative number. So if a baby that was just born during the time of me talking has a $0 net worth, meaning they have no assets, no liabilities, they broke even, that's actually not a bad place to be. So I'm saying that to say this. If you're in the negative of your net worth, once you do your math, and this is a conversation between you, and you let me know when you're done doing your calculating your net worth so I can let you know what the next steps are. But once you calculate your net worth and you realize, oh, I'm in the hole, I'm negative 40,000, negative 100,000, negative 10,000, whatever your number is, I want you to make sure you celebrate when you hit zero. That's a celebration moment because now you're at a place that you can only go, or not only go, but you're heading in a positive direction. I want you to celebrate at every level. I don't care if you go from negative 40,000 in net worth to negative 39,999. You increased your net worth by $1, and that counts. But definitely celebrate when you hit the zero mark if you went from negative and now you're making a transition to going into the positive, because that's a powerful place to be in. And now you're at least in the mindset of knowing where you were, and it's less likely that you will let yourself go back to where you initially was to begin with. So understanding the definition of the net worth, as well as that sometimes people, when they calculate their net worth, they're going to be in the negatives, and that's okay. Now, how can we calculate our net worth? Well, a lot of people don't realize the tools that we have available to us inside of My Econ. My Econ is a personal financial success company, and we teach strategies and things that can help you become financially successful. And we spend a lot of time talking about the cash flow manager and the PCP, which is the personal cash flow plan to get you to having wealth. And sometimes we might skip the net worth aspect because sometimes that's not a topic that many people want to talk about. A lot of times people don't want to discuss what their net worth is. For one, they don't truly understand it. For two, it's not a fun thing to dive into these numbers. Now, when you're doing your net worth, you're going to, I want this to be an accurate number. I don't want you to wing this. I don't want you to guess this. I want you to know down to the decimal what your net worth is. And I'm punching my hand because I'm serious. I want you to know down to the decimal what your net worth is. Now, it's going to drain you a little bit. It's going to give you a little anxiety, I'm sure. And it's going to, humble you a little bit. But at the same time, it's going to liberate you on a whole nother level. So get your Rolodex out. And this ain't something you have to do right now since we're on this training, because it may take some time for you to get all of your passwords and all of that. But you need to be able to log into all of the things that could be assets and or liabilities, so you can know what those numbers are. And when you plug them into the system, now you're in a position to know exactly where your net worth is. And I want you to print that out. I want you to print that out. And I want you to make sure that once we move into the second phase, you're making progress, because that's all I care about, progress. I don't care if you got what you feel is the worst of the worst in terms of net worth. We ain't worried about that. I want you making progress and celebrating your progress by starting from wherever you are and then just making progress every time you get paid. And we'll talk about how the second phase can really make that process automatic, but that's a whole nother conversation. Now, where I am is the cash flow manager. Hopefully you know what a cash flow manager is by now. If not, no big deal. Now, this is the desktop version. And basically, if you log into your My Econ site, you'll be able to go to your cash flow membership or your financial success membership. Inside the financial success membership is one way you can access your cash flow manager. What I did is, just because I understand directly how to get to it, you can go to mycashflowmanager.net, and then you'll log in with your normal My Econ credentials. So mycashflowmgr.net is how you get to this screen. And once you get to this screen, and I recommend doing it on the desktop or in desktop mode, just by going through the internet browser on your phone, that's fine as well. But, teach his own, just get it done. It doesn't matter how you do it. Now, once you're inside the cash flow manager and you log in, all you do is go to tools. Once you go to tools, you just hover over it. That's it. You click on balance sheet. Click on that balance sheet. Now, in that balance sheet, since this part will more than likely be empty, you just hit new. And once you hit new, and I'm not gonna hit new on this just because I have a blank one right here, the My Net Worth Challenge. Once you hit new, it'll open up to this screen right here. And let me move this out of the way. So it opened up to this screen right here. Now all of this is blank, and I started to have some numbers in mind, but I'm gonna just go with the flow because this really doesn't matter. Knowing how to get here matters, but the most important part is you knowing your numbers. So it doesn't matter what I put in right now, it's not gonna affect your numbers. Me just going with the flow and coming up with numbers is not gonna make or break your numbers. Your numbers are your numbers. So don't get caught up in the numbers that I put in because this system is pretty much an artificial intelligence. Once you put the numbers in, the calculations begin to happen automatically. So once you get to the end, you'll be able to save it and you'll be able to determine what your net worth is in the end. But basically, after you hit new, you come to here. So it says balance sheet. At the beginning, I told you, assets are things that are either making you money or they hold a level of value that's worth some form of money. So we're starting off with the assets. We're starting off with the good. And that's sometimes okay for certain people. You know, they don't mind putting in those numbers if they have, you know, some numbers that they're proud of. But we ease on down to those liabilities. And that's where it gets a little hectic because it's just a reflection of the obligations that you currently have. But don't get hung up on your numbers being less than what you want. We just need you to have a foundation so you can know where you're at, because this is going to be a liberating experience. I promise you, if you sit down and do this and you get all of your login credentials so you can access all of these numbers accurately, do not wing this. I know you might say, yeah, I got about 1,200 in the checking account, got about 3,000 in the saving account. I don't want you guessing it. I don't want you saying you got about nothing in any account. I want you to know down to the penny what's in there. Now I know it might change because certain bills and things might have to come out, but when you do this, do it accurately for that day. And then when you save it, print it out, whatever you got to do, that's your starting point, period, point blank. So don't overcomplicate it. Now, for the checking account, I'm just going to go ahead and put in a number. I'm going to say that this person has $896.33 in their checking account, because the statistics say that most people don't have $1,000 they can touch. So I'm just going to put it under 1,000. And I'm going to say in the savings account, I'm going to go ahead and cut them some slack. They got 22, 36, and 55 cents in the saving account. Money market account. So we all know what a saving account, checking account is. I don't have to go into detail about this. Cash equivalence is basically when you put your money in this account, it's pretty much not much different than what cash is valued at. It's pretty much equal to cash because it doesn't appreciate, doesn't grow much, and most of the time you can access it very easily. So the fact that it's a low barrier for entry, meaning that you can go and just swipe a card, put in a PIN number, and withdraw the cash, it's cash equivalent because it's not growing, because it's pretty much equal to cash. So a money market account that's considered to be a cash equivalent might just be a product that you bought from your bank. And it might just be something that's sitting there gaining a couple of percentages in interest. I won't put anything here, but if you know that you have a money market account, go ahead, by all means, put something in there. Money market funds account, similar to this, a little different in the things that it supposedly does, but I won't put anything there. But if you know that you have a money market funds account, great, put it in there. Some people do have a CD or a certificate of deposits. Usually you can get these from your bank as well, another form of saving. So I just put that this person has a $500 even CD, because most of the time these aren't decimals initially. They're, you know, as is. U.S. Treasury bill, I won't put anything there. Cash value of life insurance. Basically, cash value of life insurance is if a person has a life insurance policy and it's a whole life insurance policy, those whole life insurance policies allow you to accumulate what's known as cash value. So you might be paying $300 a month for a whole life policy, but the money that you're paying in at $300 a month is going in and contributing to your cash value of life insurance. If you have a term life insurance policy, it's not a cash value attached to it. So basically, term life insurance allows you to get life insurance for a lower cost, but it doesn't have a cash value. However, if in the event something happens, when it pays out based on the agreement that you signed up for. So this is typically dealing with a whole life policy. So let's just say a person had a whole life policy. They had it for about a year, and they've been paying $300 a month, as I stated. So they have a cash value of $3,600. Just keeping the numbers even. Now, let's get into the investment, because these were cash equivalents. Investments have the ability to go up, but with investments, of course, you can also lose money, but we just want you to look at what it currently is. We're not worrying about the ups and downs of the market, none of that. What is it today when you're filling this out? Put that. Stock. So if you bought directly into stocks, then see what that actual number is. Now, stocks can range from you buying a stock of Walmart or Kroger or Apple or Tesla, whatever it is that you're buying into. That can be a form of your stocks, or you can actually be buying into some ETFs, which is a bundle of stocks, usually in a particular sector. So it might be a technology ETF that might include a ton of different stocks, or it might be an agriculture or medical ETF, or it might be, just something that's specific. Like I bought into some travel ETF recently that's centered around just airlines as a whole. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I can't tell you what to invest in, but you might want to consider looking into an ETF known as JETS. I'm going to just throw that out there, JETS, inexpensive, but while flights and things are down right now, there's a good chance that that stock has potential to rise, because it's down now, but it will go back up because people will eventually start back traveling. Inside that JETS package, and that's not what this training about, but I'm going to throw this in here real quick. Inside that JETS ETF fund has pretty much all the major airlines, from Delta to Southwest to American Airlines to Allegiant, US Airways. I think it's a couple of different ones in there, but that will fall under stocks as well. So if you have stocks or ETFs, put it in there. So let's just say in your stock portfolio, you got 62, 36, and it grew, and now you got 62, 36, 48 in your investments. Let's say you got a bond. A bond is basically a safer investment. So some people contribute to the bonds usually in their older ages, or some people just do it just because they're not as risky, so they put a certain amount in there. I won't put anything here, but if you got anything in a bond, you know what it is. Mutual fund. Mutual fund is similar to an ETF, because what an ETF and a mutual fund allows you to do is diversify your investment. So basically, instead of you just investing and putting all your eggs in one basket and betting on one stock, just saying, I'm going to buy all in on Apple because I believe it's going to do well. I'm going to buy all in on Facebook, or buy all in on Zoom. Instead of you doing it, if you buy into an ETF or a mutual fund, it may have all of those bundled into one. So one stock might be doing bad, but the other one is booming. Or 3 stocks might be doing kind of bad, but 6 other ones are doing well. So I strongly encourage, highly recommend ETFs, mutual funds, if you're investing, especially starting out, because it allows you to diversify your risk and you're not having to try to be the expert investor. So let's just say that you have a mutual fund and a health science fund. That's a mutual fund that we have. It's a health science fund. We got a T. Rowe Price. Let's say that you have 33, 45, 87 in there. Partner interest. This may be you doing a joint venture kind of thing. You knew somebody who had a startup company and you wanted to invest in it, so you got a vested interest in it. You can put that. Your MyEcon business. Now, that is an asset. You have to understand that a lot of people don't push MyEcon because they don't realize what they have. They don't realize that it's an asset. If it's something that can pay you residually, I don't care if it's $100 a month, $50 a month, $50 a week, I don't care what it is. If it's something that's paying you residually outside of your primary source of income, it's an asset, especially when you build up the residual. Because that residual, just a brief example, if you're getting $1,000 a month from MyEcon, in order to get $1,000 a month to pay you out from an investment in the form of a dividend, in most cases, you will probably have to have about $100,000 in that investment account. Well, in my econ, if you build a team or organization that pays you out $1,000, that's pretty much equivalent to having it's worth $100,000 when you compare it to an investment. So don't sleep on building your My Econ business. Like I stated in the beginning, your My Econ business is an asset, but it's also a solution. Many people are having financial problems, credit problems, education as it relates to just financial literacy or the lack thereof. Many people are having those problems, but you have a solution, and they can get access to things like this training and tools and resources like the cash flow manager. So let's just say your My Econ business is paying you, and we're going to consider this to be a month, 500. I'll just keep it even, $500 a month out of your My Econ business. Now, retirement fund. Let's say that you have a job that pays out a pension. And if you can log in and find out that lump sum value, let's say you've been there 10 years and the lump sum pension has equated to 96,587.55 because you've been there for a certain amount of time. Equate that, because that's money that you'll be able to draw once you reach that age. If you have any IRAs, which is in the individual retirement accounts, if you have anything there, put that number. If you have an employee savings plan, because some people may not have a pension, but they might have a 401k or a SEP. So that being said, you put that number in based on your numbers. So just pull up your numbers. But since most people either have one or the other, I just keep it at that. And it's for a person who might have been at that job for a certain amount of time, but this might be your number for your 401k. So put what is applicable to you. Personal assets, your personal residence. Now, this is the part where you want to put in the equity that you might have in your home. So if your personal residence have some level of equity, then put it. But if it doesn't, meaning that you're upside down, so you owe $120,000 on it and it's worth 110 in the market, then you don't have any equity in it. So don't worry about putting it. But let's just say you had 30,000 in equity. You'll put that. Secondary residence. This is if you have invested and you got some type of rental property or whatever the case may be, then you could put the value that you have in this side asset. But we won't put anything here. Some people collect art, antiques. If you know the value of it, put it. Automobiles. If you know the value of an automobile that you have, put it. Basically, if you own it free and clear and it's worth a certain amount, you can put that in there, no biggie. Home furnishing, furs, jewelry. Some people collect jewelry, things of that nature. Put all of what you feel your assets are into this right here. I'll leave all of these blank, but that's totally up to you. And if it's something that you don't see and it doesn't quite fit into one of these categories, then all you have to do is click add, and you can just type it in and boom, add it in there and you're good to go. Now, we're done with the assets. We're done with the assets. So that's why you want to make sure you have all of your accurate information so you can plug all of that in. But the same is true about these liabilities, and we'll wrap it up. The liabilities, like I said, is something that you owe in the form of a debt, or is basically something that's taking money from you, which is just, monthly debt when you boil it all down. So charge account balances. In other words, credit card. So let's say that you had 368, you had $22,000 in credit card debt, which is not uncommon. Quite a few people have a decent amount of credit card debt. Let's say you had some personal loans of whatever, some type of personal loan. Let's say you had a $6,100 personal loan. Student loan, that's a whole nother crisis that's on the verge of popping. Let's say that you had $49,000 in student loans, and I've heard of people who had way more than that. But let's put it. If you have it, put it. Make it accurate. Don't guess. Don't wing it. Put it. If you have a car note, let's say you still owe $23,000 on your car, and I'm giving even numbers now, but you know what it is. 401k loan. Let's say that you had a 401k, but you borrowed against it. Basically, you needed the money, so you say, you know what? Let me pull out $5,000. It is 401k, so I can use it for whatever. Now, you're paying yourself back, So it counts towards you rebuilding your wealth or your net worth. But if you've withdrawn any type of money for your 401k and you're paying it back, consider it a loan, consider it a liability for now. Investment loan. Let's say that you already are investing in real estate and you have some type of investment that you took a loan out of, you'll put that there. I won't put that here for the sake of this example, but if you do, put it. Home mortgage. Most people have a home mortgage if they're not renting. And if you do have a home mortgage, let's say that you have quite a bit of ways before you pay it off. So let's just say that you owe $140,000 on your home. Now, you got all of your assets put in here. You got all of your liabilities put in here. Now, I was lenient on the assets because most people don't have the assets that I put in here. But I was lenient just to kind of give an example. But let's see how it tallies up. So all you do, you come to the bottom, you hit Save Changes and Return. Once you hit Save Changes and Return, you click on that letter B. Basically, this is the phase 2, and this is how you know what your net worth is. So you see all of your assets. Assets, this person has a total assets of $143,000. However, this same person has total liabilities of $245,468.24. So when you look at it, like I stated, the assets basically is all of this totaled up. Liabilities is all of this totaled up. This person has a negative 101,565 net worth. Now that might be mind-boggling for many people. They're like, man, that's horrible. But at least they know where they are. At least they can be humbled by the number, and every day, every week, every month, every year strive towards reversing that number to where one day this net worth removes that negative sign and it actually is over 100,000 in net worth. Now, this is what you're going to do for you. This is just an example. Your number may be similar. Your number may be way off. You might not even be in the negative at all. You might already be in the positive. So let's make it even more positive and build your net worth going forward. But everybody needs to at least start with this balance sheet. Go to the cash flow manager, click on that balance sheet, and go ahead and put in your assets versus your liabilities. Make it accurate. And I want you to let me know when it's done, because the second part to this, now keep in mind, I'm not dragging anyone or trying to remind anyone. I'm putting it out for whoever decides to listen. And whoever does this is just a cut above the rest. And then I can say, hey, I did my net worth, what should I do from here? Then I'm going to talk about basically automating the whole net worth process, because it's a couple of things you can do to automate making progression. Like I stated, net worth is all about making progress. But once you start making progress, it kind of gets addicting. You kind of want to invest every chance you get. You kind of want to pay off debt every chance you get. You kind of want to save every chance you get. You might not spend as much money on the things that you were spending money on because you taking a step back. You say, you know what? I'm finna increase my net worth. I ain't got time to be playing around with some of the stuff I was doing. Not that you're not living life or you're being just super frugal, but you're putting yourself in a position to where every week, every 2 weeks, every month, your net worth is at least growing at some pace. And automating it takes the pressure off, because so many times people aren't disciplined enough to budget. A budget is great, don't get me wrong, but when you automate certain things, it takes the place of the budget, because instead of you having a budget, certain things are happening whether you like it or not, because you've already set it into motion. So that'll be the second part once you do this. But you must finish this before I give you the next phase, and then we can go on a journey together, because there's a couple other phases. But it all starts with knowing your net worth. I promise you, it may take some time. If you do this and you're serious about it, it might take you about an hour to pull up all of your login information and plugging these numbers in, unless you got it, handy and you're pretty organized, and it won't take you no time. You'll be able to just put it together. But take the time out and do it. If you're married, do it for the couple. Take all the assets and your liabilities, do it together. So now you know your couple net worth, and now you're striving towards that. Hopefully you're all on the same page, but if not, at least you can be doing it and striving towards increasing your net worth. This is just the foundation. This is just where everybody needs to understand where they are. So now anything better than where you are currently is progression. And I told you in the beginning, you can be making progress. You can be increasing your net worth every time you get paid. Some people get paid daily. Like if you do something and you sell products and services that allows you to get paid daily, or if you're a beautician or a barber, whatever it is that you do, that's an opportunity for you to increase your net worth. I don't care if you get paid $100 and you say, you know what, of this 100, I'm at least putting $5 towards this. I'm at least putting $10 towards this. It's not about just doing these big, gigantic numbers. It's just about doing it on a regular basis and making sure that you put yourself first, because this is my net worth. When you read it to yourself, this is your net worth. And that's what it takes in order to start moving in the forward direction. Otherwise, you don't look at these numbers at all and you're just kind of winging it willy-nilly, and you look up 20 years has passed, 40 years has passed, and you had no clue of what your net worth was. So now you leave back an inheritance of debt and negative wealth versus positioning yourself to move forward. It's never too late to get started. So what I'm gonna do is, now that we know these numbers, now we know how to access it. All we did, cash flow manager, balance sheet, put in our numbers, assets versus liabilities, let it calculate. Then on the second page, letter B, it calculates the net worth. Now, what I recommend you do is, once you get to this page, print it out. Print it out. If you have a printer, just click Control P, print it out, or take a screenshot, whatever you got to do. Now, on a monthly basis, I want you to revisit these numbers on a monthly basis, bare minimum. Now, you might have contributed to your net worth every time you got paid, which could have been weekly, every 2 weeks, or or monthly. But every month, see where you are and see where you're making progress, and that's worth celebrating. Anytime you're making progress, it just gives you extra momentum to move forward. And you'll look up and a year has passed and you're like, man, my net worth increased by $20,000, just because you're looking at the numbers. And then, especially if you're using this and plugging it into the cash flow manager, using the MyEcon strategies, that's a whole nother conversation. But for this, start with this. This lets you know where you are so you can know where you're heading. Now I'm gonna stop it from recording, and if anybody has any questions about anything, let me know. So hang tight. Let me stop the recording.